Name something that gets passed around.
A joint.
A joint?
Legalized marijuana is always a very difficult question.
The time is long overdue for us to remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
From now on, I smoke weed exclusively with white people.
Well, I'll get higher next time.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man, the Snoopy Poop Dog.
There's definitely cannabis in there, and it makes sure that I can sleep now.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
Don't piss off your old dealer.
Marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized.
I know you're not supposed to admit that you smoke pot, but I don't drink alcohol.
Let's get out of here. I have some really good weed back at the hotel.
I used to smoke marijuana.
I don't care if an adult wants to smoke marijuana. They shouldn't go to prison for it either.
Yeah, I wish you really believed that, Kevin. I wish you did. Welcome, everybody. It's time for Toker Talk Radio, where we let down what's left of my hair, loosen the tie, light them up, and chill. Our phone number here is 650-LEGAL-MJ. If you got a comment, question, concern, criticism, we're here to hear it. Anything you want to know about marijuana legalization? Everything about marijuana except actually growing it. Don't ask me grow questions. I have no idea how to grow marijuana. I know it's weird, but it's true. So I wanted to bring up something that I saw as I was going through the news here. And remember All Day Addy? You remember when we first had legalization and Cairo News in Washington went and took these three people, and put them through a driving simulation to see how well they could drive. And the medical marijuana patient, who I dubbed All Day Addy, was able to drive at like 56 nanograms of active THC in her blood per milliliter, right? 60 or 56, which is like the 5 nanogram limit is what they got in Washington State, right? She was 11 times the limit before she had any sort of problems. Well, now Fox 25 News in Massachusetts has decided to take a look at this. And they've got a report on this driving, which reminds me of the All Day Addy report. Let's take a look at it together. And no, I don't have the audio. Rat. All right. This is what happens when we start something new. We got to figure out how it all works. Got the new setup, and I'm not exactly sure how to get the video to play. Let's see if we can make this happen. Come on, Russ, you can do it. Can I do it? I don't know if I can. Let's see what's happening here. No, nothing's happening there. All right. Do I have the mute on? That I had it muted down there. There's so many things you gotta click that thing, and then you gotta click the other thing that goes to the other thing. Okay. I think I got it now, folks. Let's see what happens.
Tonight, Fox 25 Investigates takes on a burning question in Massachusetts. How much marijuana
that was one cone.
is too much to drive? Smoking marijuana is no longer a crime, but driving under the influence still is.
So investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen put 4 volunteers to the test. And Eric, your experiment highlights why policing pot and driving is so difficult.
Well, Blair, Vanessa, the same pot and the same amounts affected everyone differently. We called our test the Marijuana Mile. 4 people who already smoke agreed to drive on a closed course under the influence and also under the close watch of a professional instructor, a doctor, and an expert drug cop. Highway speed. High on marijuana. But this crash only tells part of the story. You consider yourself a good driver? Yes. 4 volunteers accepted the challenge from Fox 25 Investigates.
We have here some critical cheese.
Smoke weed donated by a local grower and navigate this closed course in Weymouth. A slalom, a narrow turn, and a high-speed emergency stop and lane change. Everyone took a practice run with the help of in-control driving instructor Kevin Stromsky. First up, Quentin, a 36-year-old recreational user from Boston. Lab tests show he already had some THC in his system before we started. That's the active ingredient in marijuana.
All right, let's pause for just a second here to note that the guy's got 94 nanograms in his system when he shows up to the test. 94 nanograms, 19 times the legal limit in Washington or Colorado when he shows up to the test.
I feel that it impairs me at all.
His performance in the first round mostly backed that up.
Not bad.
Mostly backed that up. Did just fine. Backed up, didn't hurt nothing. Showed up at 94 nanograms, did just fine.
Another daily recreational user, 24-year-old Corinne, came into our test with even more THC in her system. After smoking 3/4 of a gram, she made it through the slalom, but started showing some effects.
Crap, I didn't stop already.
No, you didn't stop at all.
65-year-old
All right, let's stop there. She also showed up over 90, did fine in the pre-test. They're not showing this part, right? They're just jumping ahead some of this because you got to read the whole report. Did fine in the pre-test at over 90. Then she smoked 3/4 of a gram, got on the course, and did badly, right? So yeah, after you've just smoked, there might be an issue.
Medical user Don started with more THC in his system than any of the volunteers. He hit a cone in
103 nanograms.
in his first round of smoking and driving, but aced the emergency lane change and perfectly backed into this space. 56-year-old Carol told us small doses of marijuana help her with an autoimmune.
She's starting with, this is Carol, she's starting with 99 nanograms baseline when she starts the test.
Disorder.
And I have grandkids. I drive grandkids around a lot, so no, I don't do it and drive.
Maybe that's why she took it so slow in the first round. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel a little bit high.
Evaluating all of our volunteers, Middleborough Police Sergeant and drug recognition expert Debbie Batista.
She takes her corners very wide.
Joined by Dr. Jordan Tischler of Cambridge, we watched Carol hit the course again after a second round of smoking. A clean run through the slalom.
Yeah, some like 80s music would be good right now.
Carol was feeling good.
Keep going.
But it wouldn't last through this high-speed straightaway.
Oh, what happened there?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Holy cow. Well, Carol just killed a couple of people.
That was like the biggest wreck I've ever had.
All right, so let's keep in mind that she starts at 103, and then she was at 99. No, she was the 99. She starts at 99. She's smoked 3/4 of a gram and then drove, and then came back and smoked another 3/4 of a gram and then drove, and then she was doing fine in the slalom. It wasn't until they forced her to go high speed that she had this problem where she runs over a couple of the cones. Now, look, no one's saying that you should get high, smoke some weed, and get behind the wheel. But all of these people showed up at over 90 nanograms per milliliter in their system, and all 4 of them did just fine on the pretest. Did just fine.
Cones were the only casualties, and she wasn't alone. Corinne hit some too.
She hit a couple of cones.
I feel pretty loosey-goosey.
Even confident Quentin backed into a barrier in this parking spot.
I did. That was not good.
After 3 rounds of smoking, ingesting more than 500 milligrams of THC, lab tests and Sergeant Batista's evaluations revealed everyone was impaired, but not in the same ways. Carol slowed way down in the slalom while Corinne hit the gas.
If you take Corinne versus Carol, 2 polar opposite effects of the marijuana.
Somehow, Don almost had a clean run, except he forgot to put on his seatbelt.
What's that?
Yeah, let's go. I caught you a little bit.
Now let's keep it. Let's think about that. Don here. Don was over 100 nanograms. Don's done a couple of runs here, smoked weed 3/4 of a gram between each time, and had what they called almost a perfect run, aside from the fact that he forgot to put his seatbelt on. But the standard for a stone driver has to be 5 nanograms per milliliter? Are you freaking kidding me?
Oh.
What we saw today was that cannabis does affect your driving.
But after watching our experiment,
their level of tolerance coming into the event really did dramatically affect their ability to navigate the course.
Dr.
Their level of tolerance coming into the event dramatically affected their ability on the course. Just like we've been saying all along.
Fischler and Sergeant Batista agreed. Those looking for a fair and effective way to hold everyone accountable. Do you think you've had too much?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Still have a long road ahead. Now, our experiment included hours of video recorded from 7 different cameras, certainly much more than we could ever include in tonight's report. So we put together each volunteer's full test runs on the course, as well as extended interviews with our expert observers. You can find all of that on fox25boston.com.
Some great stuff there, Eric. I'm curious, if marijuana impacts people so differently, how will they come up with a standard level for impairment?
It's a tough question that people are working on right now.
They won't. There is none.
Massachusetts, unlike alcohol, there's no legal limit for smoking pot and driving in Massachusetts. Right now, police rely on these lengthy, involved tests, some of what you saw in our report. But even in places like Colorado and Washington, where they do have legal limits, some say blood tests, urine samples like the ones we use to collect our data, can't really tell if someone is actually impaired in the moment.
There's such a variety there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was fascinating to see. It really was.
It is. And a lot of people talking about this one on Facebook.
That's for sure.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, that's Fox 25 Boston. Check them out as far as their marijuana mile driving test highlights challenges. Fox25boston.com will give you everything you need. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We've got what's coming up here. I look forward. Oh, yes. Oh, we got news from Kevin Sabet and Project Sam to tell you all about. Stay tuned.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
In the interest of fair and balanced journalism, the Russ Belville Show presents the anti-drug public service announcement of the day.
Great. Drugs make me strong. Drugs make me smart. Drugs make me feel good. Drugs make me cool.
You believe that crap? Huh? You believe all that stuff they're handing you about drugs? You want to believe in something? How about yourself? Don't do drugs.
This has been the Russ Belville Show's anti-drug public service announcement of the day, exclusively on RadicalRuss.com.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
I drank beer heavily and tried drugs enthusiastically.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere.
Good time. You can hear, I don't know if you can hear, Smoke Two Joints is the first song to be played in legal Seattle. There are no police here whatsoever. People are openly smoking on the news. I can see the Como News people over there. Let me see, I'll get you a live shot out that way. You can see the Como News people in the background filming some guy smoking. I'm trying to smoke, but I keep losing my lighter.
There be pirates here. Har, 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 har. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. 15 after the hour. And like the 2016 Los Angeles Rams, the so-called quarterback of the anti-legalization movement, Kevin Sabet, has only won a quarter of his contests. He has gone 3-9 on statewide legalization initiatives in the past 4 elections. Nevertheless, his group, Project SAM, the so-called Smart Approaches to Marijuana, believes it can turn the tide of 60% public support for marijuana legalization. They believe they can do it. They can turn it around any minute now. And to do so, they are planning a Take Back 420 event in Atlanta, Georgia, to close the annual National Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit that's being held April 17th through the 20th in Atlanta. Now, the Project SAM Marijuana Education Summit, and I use the term education loosely, will be held on Thursday, April 20th, 2017, at the Westin Peachtree Plaza Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with the 6th Annual National Prescription Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit. Dr. Sabet will be there, as well as Ohio Project SAM's Tony Coder and Colorado Project SAM's Ben Court. Now, I've already been in contact with the folks at Peachtree Normal in Atlanta. They tell me they have already planned a 420 celebration, and that now part of that may have to include marching over to the Westin Peachtree Plaza to demonstrate at Kevin Sabet's soiree. We should thank Dr. Sabet for picking a day when we're already mobilized and out in the streets, rather than forcing us to motivate our protesters on some other day. The Drug Abuse Conference costs just $695 for the chance to spend 3 days hearing mostly about the opioid crisis. However, on Monday, they are presenting a session called Marijuana 101, Science-Based Messages and the Impact of Legalization in Colorado. Now, one of the presenters there is Tom Gorman. He's from the Rocky Mountain High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, or as I like to call them, the Reefer Mad Hilariously Inaccurate Data to Attack. You know, it's going to be chock full of legitimate information about cannabis when it uses medical in scare quotes to refer to it. So, in case you missed it, the RMHIDTA has been tracking the apocalyptic devastation wrought on Colorado since it legalized marijuana over 4 years ago. Here now are their top 10 Colorado marijuana abominations. Number 1. Marijuana-related traffic deaths increased 48%. Youth past marijuana use increased 20%. College age past month marijuana use increased 17%. Adult past month marijuana use increased 63%. Emergency department rates likely related to marijuana increased 49%. Marijuana-related exposures increased 100%. Highway Patrol yearly interdiction seizures of Colorado marijuana increased 37%. Seizures of Colorado marijuana in the U.S. mail has increased 427%. Crime in Denver and Colorado has increased. And as of January 2016, there were 424 retail marijuana stores in the state of Colorado, compared to 322 Starbucks and 202 McDonald's. Yeah, that's the kind of marijuana scaremongering people are spending nearly $700 to hear these days. Well, when we come back from our union-mandated safety briefing, I'm going to save you a little bit of money by debunking these alternative facts. You know, just in case you're in the Atlanta area and you feel like putting some facts on a sign and taking it down there to the Westin Peachtree Plaza on 420. And please check out peachtreenormal.org. They're going to have a fundraising page up soon They're going to raise the $1,000, folks.
I know it seems like such a simple message, just say no, but it's an important one.
Check out PeachtreeNormal.org. They're going to fundraise for the $1,000 to send someone to all 4 days of that prescription drug heroin crisis thing, as well as the Project Sam thing, and take a recorder so we can all learn about it. Yeah, that'll be some fun, folks. So check out PeachtreeNormal.org. Let's help them raise the $1,000. We'll be right back after this.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit MJBA.net for more details.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
I smell pot coming from over here and grilled onions from over there. Two of my favorite smells ever. Both those onions and that pot smell really good up here, you know.
All right. Well, maybe you're high, too. Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that.
Are you sure this is legal?
I don't know. It's fun though, isn't it?
A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. Hello, Mr. Man. Hi. I'm working. I'm sorry. No food till this is done. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
That's right. We're here on CannabisRadio.com. We're also here on YouTube.com on my Radical Russ page, live streaming. Or the easy way to find it is just go to RadicalRuss.com. It'll redirect you to the YouTube page. And so far, my audience is really enjoying the live video, except for one person. There's one of my listeners out there who does not give a shit. Jerry. Jerry does not give a shit that I've moved to video. Inside joke for me and Jerry. It's like my friend Ganja John could care less if we film in 3D or Cliff Duvall for that matter. Inside jokes, folks. Anyway, when we last were speaking, I was talking about the Reefer Mad hilariously inaccurate data to attack the Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking Agency, or whatever the hell it is, area. Tom Gorman, the head of the RMHIDTA, is going to be speaking at this prescription drug and opioid abuse conference that's taking place in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's happening on the 420 week, Monday through Thursday, April 17th through April 20th. And so the first 3 days are all about heroin and opioids and prescription drugs. And then the fourth day, 420, they turn it all over to Project Sam, to Kevin Sabet. Now, here's the other thing about this. The heroin conference is $695 for the 3 days. Kevin Sabet's little thing is $245 for the 1 day. We don't know yet if you have to buy both. We don't know if it's a deal where you have to buy the $695 and then you add the $245 on it, or can you just get the $245? Regardless, the folks at Peachtree Normal are trying to raise the money to send someone undercover to get me some recordings so we can eviscerate some of this stuff. But I've already started because the Monday session features this Tom Gorman dude with the Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking area. And I gave you the top 10 things that he said has happened in Colorado since legalization. Number one was that marijuana-related traffic deaths increased 48%. Well, folks, when they say marijuana-related, what that means is somebody crashed and died, and when we checked their blood, there was THC or its metabolites in it. That's all it means. And given that marijuana stays in your system long after you're impaired, this blood draw tells us nothing about marijuana's culpability in the crash. I mean, look at those folks that we just showed in that Massachusetts piece, right? Showing up to the test, the lowest rate at the test was 94 nanograms. Highest was 104 nanograms. Like 20 times what the legal limit is in Washington and Colorado. And they all passed their initial tests and passed some of the subsequent tests where after they'd actually smoked some marijuana. Now, if those people wrecked, you'd find marijuana in their system, even though they weren't at all impaired, according to the drug recognition expert cops that were there. And besides, the recent meta-analysis came out that showed that drivers with THC in their system are no more likely to be a crash risk if you account for age and gender. The problem with the studies in the past is they found, oh my God, THC. We found THC in their blood twice as much. It was double the crash risk. Well, the problem is that they weren't accounting for the fact that most pot smokers, aka most people you're going to find with pot in their system, the largest cohort is young men between the ages of 18 and 25. Ask anybody who's ever bought insurance for their car, if they're male, who the worst drivers are, statistically speaking. It's young men between the ages of 18 and 25. Whether they're stoned or not, they're just thrill-seeking, risk-taking drivers, and they wreck more. So once you account for that, you take out the age and the gender, marijuana drivers have no more risk than sober drivers. Now, the number two thing that he said was that youth past month marijuana use increased 20%. This was one report, one of the Colorado youth reports that they pulled it off of. But every other source that has asked this question has found that the youth marijuana use has not increased in Colorado to any statistically significant degree. This was the most recent Colorado report, just came out from Colorado Public Department of Health and Environment, I think it is. The number three thing he said was that the college age past month marijuana use increased 17%. What? What? You're telling me that college kids smoke pot? Oh, heaven forbid! Oh my God! Look, some of those college kids are 21 and over, right? And for the ones that are 18 to 20 that are smoking pot, right, the age for pot's 21, and technically they shouldn't, right? But how up in arms do people get about 18 to 20-year-olds drinking in college? Right? We don't get too up in arms about that. We shouldn't get too up in arms about them smoking pot. In fact, we should welcome them smoking pot rather than the drinking that causes the deaths and the driving accidents and so forth. Their number 4 point was that adult past month marijuana use has increased by 63%. What? Really? You make a substance legal for adults to use and they do? Well, who could have imagined that? Wow. And the other effects that we've seen because of that increased use seems to be, at least among men, fewer suicides, fewer traffic fatalities, and fewer opiate overdoses. Yes. Oh, and by the way, as for the college kids, too many more college kids are smoking pot. I looked up the statistics for the universities in Georgia versus the universities in Washington, Oregon, Colorado. They seem to achieve the same results as far as kids graduating and their GPAs and so forth. I don't see any huge significant differences there. Their number 5 point was that emergency department rates likely related to marijuana increased 49%. Oh my God. All these people are going into the emergency room for weed. Well, look, when they say likely related to marijuana, what that means is somebody came into the hospital and when we asked if they used pot, they said yes. Or when we checked their blood, we found some THC or its metabolites in it. Again, like the driving thing, like those people that were 94 to 104 nanograms when they came into the test, people can have marijuana in their systems and not be impaired by it at all. Like, you could break your leg skiing, and then if the ER finds THC in your blood from the joint you smoked the night before, they call that marijuana related. And the other thing you have to think about, too, is how many people were going into the emergency room with injuries or problems, and when asked what was wrong, they wouldn't admit marijuana had anything to do with it because marijuana is illegal. You can get busted for that. How much more of these increased rates have to do with people being willing to admit they're doing something legal now? You got to consider that. That relates to this next one where he says marijuana-related exposures increased 100%. This is what they mean, a kid or a dog that got into the medicated edibles. You go to the Poison Control Center, you go to the ER, whatever, right? Well, look, there was no telling whether more accidental exposures were happening or now that they're legal, people are less inclined to lie to the Poison Control Center or to the emergency room. And in fact, that latest report from Colorado that I mentioned earlier, that latest report from Colorado Public Department of Health and Environment says that accidental marijuana ingestion is down, perhaps because now we have that new law on packaging and dosage. More people are aware of it. Education seems to have worked. The number 7 one, and 7 was actually an amalgam. They had a few points on this one, but they said Highway Patrol yearly interdiction seizures of Colorado marijuana increased 37%. They're saying the cops on the roads are catching more people with weed coming from Colorado. I don't doubt that. But when cops say they catch weed more often, it just reminds me of fishing. Just because you caught 2 fish on Tuesday and then you caught 20 fish on Wednesday, that does not mean there are more fish in the river. You may have just switched from a fishing pole to a net. Or maybe the weather is better. Or maybe you changed your bait. Or maybe you found a different fishing hole. See, the cops these days are better trained to catch stone drivers. They're more directed to catch stone drivers. And now they've got a 5 nanogram presumptive DUID limit to help convict stone drivers. And of course, the more of them you catch, the more marijuana you're going to catch. Absolutely. Thank you. Judges were a little slow on that one. Yeah, I got to work on my staff over here. We're gonna have to bust some heads. The number 8 point the Rocky Mountain high intensity drug trafficking area Tom Gorman makes in this report. This is the guy, again, people are going to spend $700 to go listen to this guy. Number 8 says seizures of Colorado marijuana in the U.S. mail has increased 427%. Well, again, once you legalize marijuana in a state, the postal inspectors are more inclined to be searching for marijuana in packages coming from that state. Look, folks, shipping weed by mail from Colorado is nothing new. It's been going on for a long time. Number 9. I love the number 9 point. He says crime in Denver and Colorado has increased. Well, look, it's quite a leap to think that legal marijuana leads to more crime when legalization by definition erased the criminality of thousands of people in Colorado. People that were making weed deals before, a lot of them aren't now. A lot of them are just buying it in a store. And what does a legal joint in Denver have to do with, say, a rape or a murder or a carjacking? I mean, I don't follow this. Are you trying to say that we legalized marijuana and then people got stoned and it made them commit crimes? Really? Really? Look, you can't have it both ways. Marijuana can't be the drug that makes us stupid and lazy and the drug that makes us violent and active. Just, you can't have both, right? And the final point here. As of January 2016, there were 424 retail marijuana stores in the state of Colorado compared to 322 Starbucks and 202 McDonald's. Who fucking cares? Really? How many places are there in Colorado to buy a cup of coffee or a hamburger? I hate this Starbucks McDonald's thing because it's disingenuous to be comparing all of the retail outlets that sell marijuana to one single retail outlet that sells coffee or one single outlet that sells hamburgers. How many places in Denver can I get a burger compared to how many places I can get weed would be an accurate comparison. how many places I can get a cup of coffee in Colorado compared to how many places I can get weed in Colorado would be a fair comparison. And I'm telling you, folks, you can get coffee in far more places in Colorado than you can get weed. And you don't have to stand in separate lines for medical or recreational. Hell, a lot of places in Colorado will give you free coffee. Let's find some that give away free weed. That'd be cool. All right, got to take a break. We're back right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, SoundCloud, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Boise State University's 2400 baud modem bulletin board system from 1985. Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that.
That sucks. I hate...
Yeah. A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, we are talking about the Take Back 420 event that Kevin Sabet and Project Sam are putting on in Atlanta, Georgia on Thursday, April 20th. And if you want to be a part of protesting that, you can check out peachtreenormal.org. They're trying to raise the money to get out to this thing. We don't know if it's going to cost close to $1,000 or if it's only going to cost $245. We don't know if you have to buy both or you can just buy a ticket to the Kevin Sabet thing. So as they're raising money, if they raise less than the $1,000, they'll probably just go to the Kevin Sabet thing. If they can raise the whole $1,000, they'll go to both. And because they got a marijuana thing going on Monday that I want them to record as well. But Thursday is the Marijuana Education Summit on April 20th. It's got Kevin Sabet. It's got Tony Coder from Sam in Ohio. And it's got Ben Court from Sam in Colorado. Now, I've debated Kevin Sabet and I've debated Ben Court, both of them in Texas. But in addition to them, they'll have this young man who's speaking out from the recovery community, that kind of stuff. But also the head of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Volkow, will be there. Now, what was it that Dr. Volkow was saying recently about that survey, the federal national survey on drug use and health that came out and showed there was a lack of increased marijuana use by youth after legalization? Do you recall? Remember what she was saying? Well, what do you know? I have the quote right here. She said, quote, "I don't have an explanation. This is somewhat surprising," says Dr. Nora Volkow, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which commissions the annual survey. Quote, "We had predicted, based on the changes in legalization, culture in the U.S., as well as decreasing perceptions among teenagers that marijuana was harmful, that accessibility and use would go up. But it hasn't gone up. We're seeing that more people in the U.S., except for teenagers, are taking it. The rates of increases are highest among young adults, 18 to 24. So one would expect that would translate to the adolescents. But apparently it has not." End quote. That's from U.S. News and World Report. So that's right, folks. People will be paying $245 to listen to marijuana experts who can't tell you why their own predictions about marijuana legalization didn't come true. Oh, my God. I can't believe Sabet would schedule a 420 event and schedule it in such a hotbed of marijuana activism. Right? I mean, why not just put it in Denver? Bring it here to Portland next time, man. I think Kevin Sabet should bring this thing to a major marijuana city every year. And then we just show up with flyers, right? We show up with some flyers that debunk all their talking points. And the other thing about this, oh my God, it's like you're going to tack this onto the end of a conference on prescription drug abuse, opioid crisis, heroin epidemic. You're going to tack this onto that. When the most recent studies and the most recent news we've gotten has shown that states with marijuana access have 25% fewer opiate overdoses, far fewer opiate prescriptions, far less opiate addiction. We see reduction in suicides. We see reduction in traffic fatalities. But especially the opiate stuff. Oh, my God. You're going to be there. And in fact, I looked over the agenda of this whole event, right? And within the agenda items, there's some of those speakers are going to be talking about marijuana and talking about how it could be used as a substitute and a way to help wean people off of opiates. So you're going to try to tack this thing on, right? You're going to have Tom Gorman, this guy from Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking, a guy who firmly believes in the gateway theory. We got to go after the weed because it's going to lead to the heroin. You can have those kind of guys talking at a place where some of the own speakers are going to be debunking them, much less what we do outside with flyers and posters and protest signs and a bullhorn. Damn, where am I going to be 420? I might just fly out for that one. I might just have to go to that one. That's something I got to see. All right, let's take a look at some of the other news going on in the world of marijuana. I'm a big fan of this story. More Colorado businesses dropping pot from their pre-employment drug tests. Yes, exactly. Ridiculous that anyone has to pee in a cup to get a job. Like, was anyone listening when Dr. King gave his speech on the National Mall? Said, I have a dream that someday my children will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. That has a deeper meaning than just the color of your skin, right? The color of the skin part isn't the operant part there. It's the content of the character part. That's how we should be judged. Now, of course, Dr. King's talking about that in the context of the civil rights movement and the color of people's skin and how that leads to the discrimination and history, and centuries of abuse. Of course, not denying that, not trying to, push that aside. Just saying the point of that speech is people should be judged by the content of their character. I believe they shouldn't be judged by the content of their urine, even if they are using drugs. And folks, sometimes I get people that have this attitude of, okay, we really ought to stop testing people for pot, but all those other drugs, oh yeah, we got it. No drug testing for any drugs. None. I don't support any of it. What you do on your own time is your own time. Period. You come to work, you show up on time, you work, you do your job, you get done, you go home, snort a line for all I care. Shoot some heroin for all I care. It's your life. And we can't be drawing these lines as to how much we're going to let you fuck up your life. That's not our business. If freedom means anything, it means the freedom to fuck up your life. If you want, now, again, so long as you're not harming others. The minute that heroin use starts to affect you coming into work and doing your job, we got a problem. The minute that cocaine use has you robbing people, then you're a thief and we bust you for that, right? But by far, the majority of people who use drugs, all drugs, any drugs, the majority use them without a problem. The majority of people can handle their high. And I worry about us in the cannabis community. Sometimes we come off on this, holier than thou attitude because ours is the least harmful. Ours is the most beneficial drug. No doubt about it. And so sometimes we'll get this attitude of, they do drugs. I don't do drugs. I just smoke pot. Right. And I understand the motivation behind that. And I'm not saying you're a bad person for saying that necessarily. What I'm saying is have some understanding of what this battle's about. It's not about your right to smoke pot. It's about your right to do with your body what you choose. If all drugs were legal, I'd be advocating for sex workers. If all sex work was legal, I'd be advocating for whatever else that has to do with people being free, being able to exercise their own agency, to do with their lives what they choose, even if it's harmful to their own life. There's people out there who choose from a very young age, like as young as age 7, choose to take up an activity where they regularly work out to exhaustion, and then for up to 3 hours at a time, run at full speed toward one another and hurtle their bodies into each other at forces that approach that of car wrecks. And from age 7 on, they'll do this up until like age 40 sometimes. And it's been shown to cause, all sorts of pain and injury. But in addition to that, a certain type of brain damage that can lead to suicidal ideation and aggression. It's been shown that the people who take up this activity have markedly lower life expectancies. It's not uncommon for them to die in their 50s or 60s. We let people fuck up their lives that way because it's called football and it's fun to watch. But you got a problem with me smoking a joint? And that's where, this is where my advocacy differs from other people's advocacy, because I don't shy away from anything that might suggest that marijuana is damaging my life. Maybe it is. When they say, marijuana causes a loss of 8 IQ points. It doesn't. But what if it did? If it did, is that reason enough to stop me from smoking it? Maybe I'm too smart. Maybe I need to lose 8 IQ points. Right? It's my IQ points. Who are you to tell me what to do with them? That's where I come at this from. Is it's my life. I will do with it what I choose. You got no bearing to tell me I can't. Now, if you could show me a drug where it was guaranteed that any person who, even if it was just the majority, even if it was 51%, if it was 51% of the people that take this drug are going to harm others, guaranteed, okay, we'll make that illegal. And it's illegal to access other certain substances too, like radioactive isotopes, certain types of poisons, biological agents, chemical agents. There's all sorts of things that are legal to possess because the only thing you could do with them is harm people. So I'm not saying there's not any place to ban things. What I'm saying is marijuana does not meet any sort of logical criteria for that ban in any way whatsoever. Oh yeah, we were talking about drug testing. Anyway, so Colorado businesses, this report coming out of the cannabis shows that only 62% of companies are pre-employment drug testing in Colorado compared to 77% just 3 years ago in 2014. Over the past 2 years has declined as 7% dropped the drug from pre-employment tests while 3% removed it from all drug tests. It's still way too high. It's still 62%. It's still 3 out of 5 companies drug testing. And this is what, when the drug prohibitionists, when the marijuana prohibitionists, they'll cite these stats, they'll cite these scares that, marijuana use leads to lower productivity, or marijuana use leads to a lower lifetime income, or people that use marijuana don't advance as far in their careers. Well, yeah. When you're not able to apply for 3 out of 5 jobs, or apply to 3 out of 5 companies, I should say, that could severely limit how well you're going to do in life. A lot of this article says it's because unemployment is so low, because they can't afford to be choosy anymore. And they say, if the unemployment goes up, if there's enough desperate people without jobs, then they might go back to reinstating those drug tests. Doesn't matter whether you can afford it, doesn't matter whether it works or it doesn't work. It ain't your right to take my pee to get a paycheck.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they aim you to say that. Illegal! A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. Remember, friends, there's more to life than marijuana. I just can't remember what it is. Why'd I come in here? This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Tail end of the show here. I want to thank everybody who's been so patient with me as I readjust to my new setup. I'm live on YouTube.com now on the Radical Russ channel. Or the easy way to get there is RadicalRuss.com. It'll just redirect you to the live page. And we got a chat room there. And you can see me. Hi, everybody. Isn't that fun? I can do little Conan O'Brien things, Generally act the fool. Also gives me an excuse to wear my shirts and ties. You get to see all of my collection of ties as we go through this. This will be fun. But I'm still on CannabisRadio.com as well if you're just listening to audio, and this is the kind of a cool thing. On CannabisRadio.com, I believe I'm in stereo, and over here on YouTube, I'm in mono. I think that's the way that's working out. So, one other slight change, and you probably don't even notice unless you're a true audiophile. I've downgraded the recording bitrate on the saved podcast. So if you're listening via podcast, I used to save it at 128K. Now I'm saving it at 96K because I'm eventually going to be putting this on a platform where I only can upload 1.5 gig a month. And at 96K, a month worth of my shows works out to about 1.5 gigs. So that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it is. Sorry. Anyway, as we close up shop here, a couple more things to discuss. One of them, this article from Reuters. Now, most people have been covering this. I've seen this headline. They buried the important part to me. Reuters got it right as far as I'm concerned. But this was a state senator. It was a sheriff. I'm sorry. Trump is talking to these sheriffs, right, about the immigration issue. And the headline that you saw on the stories was that Trump will, quote, destroy his career, end quote, of this state senator who opposed his immigration policies. That was the big quote line that I saw as I was preparing the news today. Didn't realize this was had a marijuana issue to it. Because what it was is it had to do with civil asset forfeiture. Now, you know about civil asset forfeiture. This is where the police, law enforcement agencies, charge your property with a crime in order to ensure justice? Oh, no. Right, to make money. I forgot. Billions of dollars that they make in this asset forfeiture. So, Trump, on Tuesday, said there was no reason to curb law enforcement agencies that seize cash, vehicles, and other assets of people suspected of crimes. Now, there's been some reform on this asset forfeiture in a few states. There's a few states now, I think, was it New Mexico that recently did this, or Nebraska? I can't remember. One of them states that recently passed a law that says you can't seize someone's property, even if you're the cops, if they've not committed a crime, if you've not convicted of a crime. Seems fair, seems just, but yeah, we have to pass laws for that. So there's been some reform on this, and the Obama administration had spoken out on this and moved toward reform as well. Well, now Trump looks like he's backing out of that. He was talking to these group of sheriffs, and they were talking about civil asset forfeiture. He said, I'd like to look into that. There's no reason for that. That referring to this reform to curb asset forfeiture. Because in 2016, there was a bipartisan bill in Congress. And now it didn't pass, but there was a bipartisan bill in Congress that would require the government to do more to show that the seized property was connected to a crime. Didn't even go as far as requiring a criminal conviction. It just added a few more hurdles to clear before the cops could just take your cash and take your stuff, right? Had to show some more probable cause here that there was some crime going on, right? Because it's been abused. This has been abused by police departments all across the country. So Trump was asking the acting U.S. Attorney General Dana Boente whether executive orders or legislation were needed to support forfeiture. Boente said that was unnecessary, but law enforcement agencies needed encouragement. Trump voiced disagreement with lawmakers who want to change asset forfeiture laws, and some of the sheriffs laughed when Trump suggested he might want to destroy the career of one Texas legislator. He said members of the U.S. Congress would, quote, get beat up really badly by the voters, end quote, if they interfered with law enforcement activities. Later, Sheriff Harold Evenson of Rockwall County, Texas, told Trump of his response to a state lawmaker who had introduced legislation requiring suspects first be convicted of a crime before assets could be seized. Quote, I told him that the cartel would build a monument to him in Mexico if he could get that legislation passed, end quote, Evanson said. Quote, who was the state senator? End quote, Trump asked. Quote, you want to give his name? We'll destroy his career, the president deadpanned to laughter. Evanson didn't identify the lawmaker, but there was a Republican state senator who had introduced such legislation. So yeah, everybody, and sorry about the terrible, terrible impersonations, but there was a state legislator who proposed that, before we take people's stuff for crime, maybe they ought to be convicted of a crime. Maybe it ought to be more than just the hunch the cops have that this person's up to no good. Because what it usually is cops pull someone over, they pull the I smell weed excuse, they impound the car, and they take all of the suspect's cash. And then usually it costs too much and it's too much hassle for the people to go back and fight to get it because they don't have their cash and stuff anymore. They can't afford a lawyer to get their cash and stuff because they don't have any cash and stuff. Anyway, like I needed more reasons to hate Trump. That's all the time I got for today, folks. Time flies when you legalize. Thanks for joining us here on RadicalRuss.com video and CannabisRadio.com audio. For everyone here at Delta 9 Studios, we love each and every one of you. Some of you more than others, but all of you at least a little. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Smoke them if you got them, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
I do support the use of medical marijuana, and I think even there we need to do a lot more research.
Okay, well, maybe you're high, too.